I'm Scott Alan Miller. It is the 28th of October, 2022, and this is my vlog of daily life in Leon, Nicaragua, and it is Friday. It is a busy day. We're scrambling to deal with all the fallout that happened yesterday with the employee who just upped and left us high and dry. Not a huge deal, but that makes for an adventurous morning. We had regular office stuff today, so I was busy doing my normal thing all day, was keeping up pretty well on the vlog until this afternoon. So today is not a day with a lot of news about Nicaragua. Today's more of just news about our lives. So today in the middle of the afternoon, suddenly got a call after I'd been working quite a bit. It was a good, busy Friday, had a lot of customer meetings and so forth, and at about 3:30 in the afternoon, Paul called me to say that suddenly he had received a message from one of our key personnel that he had just, following suit and unrelated to what happened yesterday, up and quit. And of course, being who we are, as I said in yesterday's video, right? You just accept that they left and then you move on from there, right? Employees have the right to quit. That's just how life is. You can't be like, no, you can't quit. That's not a thing, right? I mean, I suppose it is some places, but it's not for us and not here. And but this is a really big deal and caught us extremely by surprise. And so we have a lot of management renegotiations and figuring out and replacements and everything that we have to do. So our day went from a kind of normal busy-ish Friday. I'm going to turn around and walk this way because the sun is not in my favor in the way I was going. And went from what was kind of a relatively casual day into a total disaster. Now, the plan this weekend, Marcella is coming out and came out this morning with her kids, but they went to the beach. They're out working there because she works at the hotel on the weekends. And so they were out there, and the plan is that they were coming to stay up at the house and do Halloween activities with our kids for the weekend. Now, originally they were coming on Saturday, but we just couldn't make it happen because we have so much stuff going on, and that worked out pretty well. So that's actually happening on Sunday, the 30th. So tomorrow, the plan is to just be out on the beach. But today, the plan was that I was going to be working, and they were going to be on the beach. We wouldn't see him for a few days, and Dominica's out on the beach working. So when everything happened, pretty much as quickly as I could, I wrapped up work, got everything situated, took care of the kids, made sure. So Paola was at the house because she works at the house, and she stayed with the kids and the dogs, and I ran out to the beach. Now, it was a lot of, I just grabbed a taxi and went, right? It was very fast and convoluted. I have no idea what's going on. Like, we're all in the dark trying to figure out what happened. So I went out to the beach and spent the majority of the evening just hanging out on the beach so that I could be there to help with management decisions and any amount of stuff that's going on, because we're in a position where we immediately have to appoint new managers, put people in place to take over key roles and that sort of thing. So it's not a disaster, but it's a lot of moving pieces suddenly changed, because when you lose a key personnel, it's just a lot, right? A lot of cogs connect to that one. So that was a crazy night, and this is going to be going on for a while. This isn't going to be a one day make some decisions. There's a lot of new people have to be put in place, and a lot of things we don't know yet, right? Because there's just a lot of connections between different businesses and things that we do. So it's one of those days. So it was kind of a decent evening hanging out on the beach. I didn't actually have to do that much. Mostly I got to relax while there and just be there to help out with whatever I could, so that Dominica was not there dealing with it all on her own, and moving staff around and letting people know and communicating with Paul, because Paul is out of town. He is currently in Managua, so he was not around to deal with any of it, which makes it all make more sense. He only got the message while he was in Managua, and I was the one in town to deal with things. So a very, very busy day for us, and just a lot of craziness going on. This is part of, and I talk about this a bit, and it's funny because this morning I was talking to my cousin Jeremy about business stuff in general, right? And he was talking about American business and some problems that we have with things in the US, and just talking challenges, right, with business. And he's talking about, well, how do small businesses make it? Like, this stuff is hard. How do they make it? And I'm like, Jeremy, they don't. 85% of small businesses in the US fail, right? And that's one of the best business environments there is. And it's that hard. Like, business is hard. The average company doesn't make it. That's not a thing. The average fails, and it's unique when you're able to handle people paying late or not paying at all, or not wanting to use your service and not having sales and marketing, or having a product that no one wants, or pricing your stuff so that it's cheap but you don't make any money. Like, there's just so many things to go wrong even before doing the work. Like, it really is hard. We were talking about that this morning, and in the US, I think one of the big overheads is people not paying and the incredible cost of collections and that kind of stuff. And here in Nicaragua, I think that you have different types of overhead, and so much of it here is not people not paying, but it is more things like the incredible difficulties with staffing and sudden people quitting. Like, in the US, you rarely get people who just quit out of nowhere, but in Nicaragua it happens all the time. And having to deal with different businesses opening and closing quickly. Sorry, there's kids rolling around laughing. And there's just different types of overhead. But one of the challenges, and I was saying this to Paul and Dominica, this huge challenge to other people, to any people, right? To people coming into Nicaragua and looking to invest or run a business or participate in the market in some way, is that there's these really big complicated overheads that we're seeing and we're expecting to some degree. And I think for a lot of people, they're overwhelming. Just like in the US, there's all these things that you don't expect. You go into business and then it's crippling and you're like, I don't want to do this. Like, I thought it was going to be easy. I had a product to sell. I thought it would make money, and that's not the way it works. And it isn't. And the same thing happens here. It's just different challenges. And one of the secrets is knowing to anticipate them and being ready. But another is being able to diversify and to weather the storm. And a lot of people in business anywhere don't plan for those things to go wrong. And part of our strength here is the same as anywhere, that we are investing across multiple businesses. We have the ability to weather a lot of issues. We're able to deal with certain businesses being closed and other ones being open at different times and shifting staff between them. And there's just a lot of, on one hand, preparation for issues. And of course, to some degree, knowledge of issues, right? We have a small advantage that we know more of what could go wrong, and we're kind of actually protected against things because we're aware of the issues. But also, we're simply more well positioned because we've been in the market for a few years, because we're expanding and growing. We can move into different directions very quickly because we're not all of our eggs in one basket. There's redundancy and protections and load balancing and different aspects that are going on already, even though we're so early. Wow, that's loud. That's the problem, is when you get between the people selling things in the middle of the afternoon, no one can hear you. We're gonna let them go by and we'll be back in just a little bit. So with all of those things, it's a lot of people who are coming into the market, they have like, well, I have this one business idea. I want to open a bakery. And if I get the location wrong, if I have a staffing disaster, if I don't understand the taxes, if I do something that causes it to be closed for 3 months, then I'm screwed and my business goes under because I'm not prepared to keep a business closed for a number of months while I fix something, or I'm not prepared to take a year to figure out the market and produce products that people actually want here, or whatever. There's a lot of people coming into any new market have a tendency to come in when they haven't done those things in another market. And I've mentioned that before. And so there tends to be a bit of naivete. And then on top of it, there's the cultural challenges of the challenges in whatever market you're going into are different than the challenges in whatever market you're used to somewhere else. And you compound those things and your chances of failure get pretty high, even compared to the normal high chances of failure for business. And I think there's a cute doggy over there. And so I think a lot of people coming into Nicaragua come from that kind of position. Like, they have a little bit of experience maybe somewhere else, US, Canada, whatever. And when they get here, there's just a lot of, wow, this isn't what I was expecting. This is so much different. The market is so much smaller, whatever. And without planning for things like, well, when we open a new restaurant, we say things like, well, we're planning that this will be closed 6 months of the year, because you just have to. And in doing that, if it's open more than 6 months, you're like, yes, We've done better than projected. Not, oh my gosh, it's been closed for 5 months. We're in a disaster state. No, you have to be prepared, and you have to have multiple businesses, or you're really dependent on one thing surviving that may not survive. And it may not survive for things you can't really control very well. And part of the protection against those things is scale, right? If you look at venture capitalists, right, they don't put all their eggs in one basket. They don't look at a new up-and-coming company and say, I'm going to invest everything into that because I'm sure it's going to make it. They never say that. They look at 100 companies and say, all of these have reasonable chances of success within whatever the scope of reasonable is. They vet them. They don't invest in stupid things normally, right? They say, is this a product that could make sense? Okay, yes. Does it have a business plan that could make money? Yes. Could this become a hot thing that takes off? Could. And then they invest in many, many, many different businesses, and they do lots of things to hedge those bets, right? Which is why some firms that do that are called hedge funds, right? That comes from somewhere. And they're hedging their bets by investing in lots of places, and their expectation is that maybe 10% of them succeed. 1% or 2% may succeed wildly and make outrageous amounts of money. 8 to 9% might succeed and be profitable, but not make the whole project worth it. It's just me. They know I come by with my dogs normally. And then they expect 80 to 90% of the things that they invest in to go completely out of business. Maybe they'll mitigate the disaster somehow. Maybe they'll find key staff to move to other companies. Maybe they'll own some intellectual property that they can reuse somewhere else. Maybe they can sell part of one of the businesses to one of their other businesses and at least keep an operating unit that makes sense, or share resources or something. They'll do what they can to save money, or to make a little bit here and there. But in general, they expect the majority of what they invest in to just evaporate over time. They will fail because that's how it works. And they don't look at those as failures. They're part of a statistic process of success. And coming into someplace like Nicaragua, especially as an outsider, if you're a Nicaraguan and you're doing a micro business and you're making tortillas in your house, or you're running a tiny cheese shop in your house, or you're running a small farm, yes, all your eggs are in one basket, but you also have this trivial overhead that gives you some chance of success because your level of potential success is so small. With foreigners, with expats coming in and looking to invest and do business here, it's different. We can't do those micro businesses. We simply can't. We can't live off of it. We don't qualify in many cases. We don't have what it takes to do it. We're lacking certain resources. So that's not what we're going to be doing. We're looking at larger businesses. They don't have to be large businesses, but larger businesses that have employees. Right, so we're looking at restaurants, we're looking at stores, we're looking at manufacturing, we're looking at farming, right? Things that are going to hire people, things that are going to require resources and teamwork and tax handling and lawyers and all that kind of stuff. And when we do that, those types of businesses have a much higher risk overall. And if you really want to be able to do that in a safe way, if you want to say, well, I really want to be successful, and I don't want to be super risky that I'm going to just be that 10% that makes it really well, you need to hedge. You need to figure out a range of businesses, a way to separate yourself from the exposure that a single business provides. Because all it takes is one bad tax filing. All it takes is one key employee leaving. And when that happens, yeah, you might be able to recover in time. But do you have time? Do you have a way to keep your staff employed while you figure that out? Do you have a way to pay your bills while you figure that out? In the long run, your business may be a great idea, but a simple little cog in the machine getting hung up could bring everything to a halt. And that's true anywhere. But I think here in Nicaragua, that type of risk is magnified many times versus in the United States, where your risk is much more customer-based, simply because of the way that the market tends to behave. So those are kind of my thoughts on that, and why we had a really big adventurous business day today, and why it's not really that big of a deal for us, but an awful lot of the people we know here, a lot of the businesses that we know here would be absolutely crippled and go out of business from something like this. And for us, it's annoying, and we're gonna have a really busy weekend, but chances are it's gonna work out really, really well for us in the long run. Probably in our favor, overall. So planning, preparing, being smart about it, having the right team in place, and having redundancies and hedging are very important anywhere, but I think it's something that people overlook here specifically, or when investing abroad, and something that I think we can bring as a bit of my vlog consulting to people, and why you shouldn't be worried that I had a really bad day, because it's all fine. That was my day. Please remember to like and subscribe. Leave your comments below. If you'd like to support the channel, especially today, because we had a really rough day, you can buy me a coffee down there. That goes directly to me. And I want to point out that this store, sandwich. That is, there is, like, this is, we have sandwiches, except that's a sandwich. And yeah, comments and share with your friends and on social media. I'm trying to figure out the format for when and where to do the throwbacks. We're going to do that in just a second, but I will see all of you tomorrow. All right, it's time for the throwback. And today there's not a lot. There's actually a pretty long video, 15 minutes, and it's the 2 weeks, I think, 16 days of doing continuous vlogging 3 years ago in 2019. So this is kind of a landmark, or a little bit over 2 weeks. And we are 4 days away, 3 years ago, from heading off to Nicaragua. So we're getting really close to when we're going to be on that really epic trip that we did. So that'll be cool. And I have a feeling I'm going to need to actually recreate some videos, because there's a lot that was missed at the time. So we'll see how that works when we get to it. But big thing, Liesl was still really into RPG Maker 3 years ago and spent a lot of time working on that. She's learning some project management and how to focus on things and just learning a ton of stuff. It's really good educational stuff for her. I love RPG Maker as that kind of tool. It's so great for so many things. I think whether it's writing or just general creativity or project management or task focus, all those things, it's really cool. And even if video games are not something that you particularly are interested in, using them as a framework for other things is really cool, which I talked about in some of the throwbacks as well. So go watch that, check it out. Thanks for joining me. Remember to like and subscribe or subscribe anywhere. Like the old video, watch it. That really does help the channel. Short throwback today, and we'll see all of you tomorrow.